Hi everyone. So today we bring to you high yield pediatrics. Pediatrics is mostly covered in medicine, but the part of it which is not covered in medicine can be broadly classified into volatile and non-volatile parts. So we have tried to bring to you all the volatile parts of pediatrics. So if you want to watch a video for 5 minutes one day before the exam, this should be it. First of all, we'll discuss the
First of all, we'll discuss the Ballard score. So, in the Ballard score, they will never ask you the entire scoring per se, they will ask you only the components. To start with, the first component is posture. In posture, you have to check whether the baby is showing flexion or not. In square window, you check the baby's wrist. You should be able to flex the wrist, but in our case we are not able to flex it beyond a certain point. In a preterm premature baby, the wrist can be flexed to touch the forearm. In arm recoil, when you basically extend the arm of the baby and leave it in the extended position, the arm tends to go back in a premature and hit the baby's face. Popliteal angle says that your knee being extended, whether you're able to flex the hip joint in such a way so that you're able to completely put the knee of the baby on the baby's stomach. In scarf sign, you're able to wrap the baby's arm around the baby like a scarf. Our arm will stop midway in between. Like we won't be able to take it more medially beyond a certain point. But in a preterm premature baby, you're able to put it like a scarf around the baby's neck. Heel to ear test, basically the baby is able to touch his or her ear with his or her knee. Now skin, lanugo hair, plantar surface won't have any creases. Even the breast tissue will not have the full development. In the eye and ear, the eyelids would be completely fused and the ear cartilage would be very mobile, so it won't recoil once you compress the ear cartilage. In our case, it would recoil. If you touch your ear right now, the pinna would recoil if you compress the pinna. In preterm premature baby, it does not compress like that. Now genitals, the scrotum is flat, smooth, without the rugae, whereas in a mature baby the rugae are all, the rugae are there. And in the females there is flat vulva. The labia majora is not covering the labia minora, whereas in a full term baby the labia majora would be covering the labia minora.
APGAR scoring system, they will ask you to calculate also. APGAR is very easy to remember. A for appearance. So appearance could either be blue all over, blue extremities, and then pink extremities and pink body. So that is 0, 1, 2. Pulse is no pulse, less than 100, more than 100. Grimace is response to stimulation. So there could be no response, there could be feeble cry, or there could be a strong cry. Activity is no movement, some movement, and active movement. um, and the last one is respiratory effort. You need to, I think you need to move the slide a bit. Yeah. So in respiratory effort, you will just see whether the baby has good respiratory response or weak respiratory response, weak cry or a strong cry. You will find all these hints, you will add them up and you will tell what the score is. They will ask you both the components and the score of a baby which was born. APGAR score is done at 0 and 5 minutes. Now, this is SARNAT and SARNAT classification for hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy. And this is also something that they frequently ask. And I will just tell you, basically, they will ask you whether the baby is stage 1, stage 2, or stage 3. You don't need to remember all of it, but then you need to differentiate between the stages. Stage 1 baby is very alert. In stage 2, the baby has become lethargic. In stage 3, the baby is in stupor or coma. Activity in stage 1 is normal, whereas it is decreased in stage 2 and absent in stage 3. Muscle tone, again, it's normal in the stage 1, it's mild hypotonia in 2, and it's completely flaccid in 3. So you see, it makes sense. Now you should focus on seizures also. When they give the question, they usually give seizures. Seizures are absent in stage 1, they're common in stage 2, and they're very uncommon in stage 3. So now you can broadly differentiate between 1, 2, and 3 stages, and this is something they'll ask. Rest of it you might remember, you might not remember, but these are certain things that they will definitely give. Mydriasis, meiosis, and variable pupil size, this is also something you can look at. Heart rate, tachycardia, bradycardia, or it could be variable. Now, vitamin A deficiency, since it's a very common cause of refractive errors in children, it's the second most common after I think squint. I don't remember that well, but then this is not important. The important thing is the classification here and the dose of vitamin A that you give. The dose is for more than 1 year, you'll give 2 lakh international units on day 0, 1, and 3. For less than 1 year, you'll give 1 lakh international units again on day 0, 1, and 14. Sorry. And um, they will also they will ask you the classification which we have kept here. Xn is night blindness, X1A is conjunctival xerosis, X1B is Bitot spots, X2 is corneal xerosis. Then you will have keratomalacia involving one third, or a corneal ulcer involving less than one third of the cornea, involving more than one third of the cornea. You'll have xerophthalmic scarring, and then you'll have xerophthalmic fundus. You also should remember that vitamin A prophylaxis is given as part of NIS. Other thing which I have told you on day 0, 1, and 14, that's for the treatment. It's not for prophylaxis. And then they can also ask you the most common, like the earliest presentation of a person with vitamin A deficiency. Some people say that it's the difficulty to see green light, but then I have read that it's also night blindness. But you can see in the image they've shown Bitot spots. Bitot spots are nothing but a conjunctival sign only. First of all, you have conjunctival xerosis, and then you have the Bitot spots. You can see in the image, maybe if you can focus, these are the Bitot spots. Now these are the findings of Pierre-Robin syndrome. No, Tricho-Collins syndrome. These are the findings of Tricho-Collins syndrome. You can remember it. Maybe you should see a picture and then remember it, but then they're important. A few syndromes and their physical features are very important. Facial features for Tricho-Collins syndrome are hyperplasia of the malar bone, underdeveloped zygoma, hypoplastic orbits, hypoplastic maxilla, mandible, and TMJ. Eyes have anti-mongoloid slant. Anti-mongoloid slant is also seen in Noonan syndrome. That helps us to differentiate it from uh, Turner syndrome. So coloboma of lower eyelid, hypoplasia of lower eyelid with partial absence of cilia, hypoplasia of lateral canthi, hypertelorism, abnormality of the ear, auditory canal, malformed ossicles, external nose deformity, deviation on the nasal septum, fish mouth appearance. Basically, what I think is hypoplasia of mandibles would give it away that it is Treacher-Collins syndrome. Let's go to the next slide. Pierre-Robin syndrome is the another syndrome we should remember. We have cleft palate, glossoptosis, micrognathia, retrognathia, macroglossia, and ankylosis in this. Now, this is Silverman Anderson scoring, which they have asked the names 2-3 times. And although it might seem a little daunting, but it's very easy to remember. See, you first see the chest movement, whether the chest movement is equal everywhere. Um, or there is a respiratory lag, or there is a seesaw respiration. They'll mention this in the question, or they could even give you a video where you have to see it for yourself. But then again, the video would clearly demarcate whether it's a respiratory lag or a seizure respiration, it won't be that difficult. Intercostal retractions could be none, minimal, marked. Xiphoid retractions could be none, minimal, marked. Nasal flaring could be none, minimal, or marked. And expiratory grunt could be none, audible with stethoscope and audible without stethoscope. So if you don't know what a retraction is, the retraction is basically you can imagine it this way, that if there are two ribs, the skin between the ribs, it gets pulled inside and it comes outside. Normal baby, the skin movement won't be visible, but in case the skin is retracting and it's coming back, the skin between the two ribs, that's called a retraction. If the skin below xiphoid is retracting and coming back, then it's xiphoid retraction. Mnemonic is MRF gear. Ayush is telling us this. So we can see that chest movement, retraction, xiphoid, nasal flaring, expiratory grunt. Even if you don't remember it with a mnemonic, I think this is pretty obvious that these are the things that you should be seeing for respiratory system. Now, complications of mumps, they will ask you the most common complications in NEET mainly, but otherwise also we can see orchitis, epididymitis, pancreatitis, thyroiditis. These are all the complications of mumps. Now, this is something which is very interesting. This they had asked in this year's AIMS exam also. They had asked the inside components. This is Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram, which has 4 Ds. So in the 4 Ds for RBSK, Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram, whatever it is, RBSK, I think. For this, the 4 Ds are defects at birth, childhood diseases, developmental delays, and deficiencies. In this, the important thing which they'd asked was the inside part of it. I'll help you remember it and I'll read it with you. So the defects at birth, they could be neural tube defect, Down syndrome, cleft lip, talipus, DDH, congenital cataract, deafness, congenital heart disease, retinopathy of prematurity. It does not have glaucoma, which was the question this year, but let's remember it. Let's make a face of a baby. Let's imagine a face of a baby and then start with the ear. Okay, so do we have something in the ear? Yeah, congenital deafness. Do we have something in the eyes? Yeah, congenital cataract. Then we have in the eye only, we have retinopathy of prematurity. So you have congenital deafness, congenital cataract, retinopathy of prematurity. Now, if you come down a bit, there is cleft lip and palate. There is also, if you come down a little more, there are congenital heart diseases. Then in the hip region, you have DDH. In the foot region, you have clubfoot. Two things which you have to remember by not by this way, but just like that. These are Down syndrome and neural tube defect. So these you'll have to remember it just like that. For deficiencies, it's very easy. Vitamin A, vitamin D, SAM, thyroid problem, that is goiter, and anemia. These are the common ones which we read off. So to see them in this, it's not a big deal. Childhood diseases. Now for this, I remember it this way. Like I had a village posting. All the villagers would come with skin conditions, scabies, fungal infection, eczema. They would come with ear infections. These are the common patients that you see in the OPDs. Childhood diseases, rheumatic heart diseases. These are so common in India. Then asthma and all other reactive airway diseases. Dental caries, it's the most common disorder worldwide. And convulsive disorders. So basically, your medicine OPD is childhood diseases. And then the developmental delays and disabilities, it's basically more of the psychiatric part, visual impairment, hearing impairment, neuromotor impairment, motor delay, cognitive delay, language delay, behavior disorder, learning disorder, ADHD. Below this chart, they've written that congenital hypothyroidism, sickle cell anemia, and beta thalassemia are optional components of the RBSK. So if you can remember this, this might fetch you an edge over other people. That's all that we have for you in this short discussion for pediatrics. Thanks.